A positive law is a law that you would not know to obey unless God commanded it, unless he revealed it. So positive laws are commanded in God's covenants, and they're tied to particular covenants. So I'll just give you some examples. Adam would never have known not to eat of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil unless God said, don't eat of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. Right? So, and that commandment, that positive command, was tied to the covenant of works. Abraham in the Abrahamic covenant would never have known to be circumcised unless God commanded it. Right. It wasn't written on his heart. It wasn't part of his nature. It had to be commanded by way of covenant. And hence we're not under the Abrahamic covenant anymore. And therefore we don't practice circumcision. You see? So positive laws, that's another thing about it, is they can change. You know, they
so how does that then, you know, so the natural law or the moral law reflects the character of God, as you said.
Yes.
So the positive law, then how are we to understand its connection with God, I mean, in his character?
Yeah, that's a great question. Well, positive laws are doing something particular in the covenants in which they're given. So
I mean, God's nature obviously doesn't change, right? His character doesn't change.
God's character, and that's the thing is well, let me put it this way. So, for example, the command not to eat of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, God could have made that any command. I mean, he could have drawn a circle in the ground and said, Adam, don't step inside that circle. It was a probationary test not to eat of this tree. God chose to use a tree, as a positive law command to test Adam's obedience. Now, here's the thing. There's nothing inherently immoral about eating from any tree, even that one. The sinfulness of Adam's eating from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil was moral, that because God commanded the positive law, if Adam ate of the tree, which he did, he was really breaking the 10 Commandments. He was having other gods before God. He was committing idolatry. He was certainly stealing something that didn't belong to him. He was coveting. He was lying in that he didn't even tell his wife the truth when she handed the fruit to him. He was murdering himself and the whole human race. You know, he wasn't being a faithful spouse to his wife, you know. Regardless of the day, if it was a Sabbath day or a work day, he wasn't doing what he was supposed to do. He wasn't appropriating his time properly. Instead, he was hanging around a tree. So you could go through all the 10 Commandments and show what Adam did when he broke that positive law was he broke all 10 Commandments. And that's the case with all positive laws, is that when we disobey them, we're not disobeying something inherently moral or immoral. What we're doing is we're disobeying the God who gave that positive law. And so that's how the positive laws are connected with moral law and with God's nature. But they're also all doing something. So the reason positive laws change is because God's purpose and all the different covenants are different. There are overarching purposes that transcend the covenants, but the covenants have distinctive purposes. So, for example, the Old Covenant, the reason for a lot of the positive laws there was it's an extremely harsh covenant. That's what we're told in the book of Acts, is that these are heavy burdens that God gave to his Old Covenant people. But it was to preserve the line of promise. It was fear-based, that they weren't to intermarry. They weren't to kill themselves off. They had to hold together as a nation to preserve the line of promise. And also to point to the threat of judgment on Judgment Day and the warnings of the covenant of works are a reminder of that as well. So positive laws, what I'm saying, they're doing something in particular. Right. You know, in the new covenant, we have positive laws like baptism and the Lord's Supper.
Right.
Those are not inherently moral, but they mean something. They have symbols in light of the cross that's already taken place. The whole system of church government and church discipline, those things are distinctive to the new covenant period. They're doing something special now that the gospel has gone to the nations and churches are to be planted among every tribe and tongue, regardless of the government, the national government that's there. You have church governments that can live within and under all nations. And so something distinctive is going on with the positive laws, and we're only to obey the positive laws that are found in the covenant in which we are a member. And so here's the bottom line. As new covenant Christians, we're to obey the moral law because that transcends all covenants, and the positive commandments of the new covenant. But we are not bound to obey any of the positive commandments of any other covenants.
So